Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's bright and early here in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, in the upper left of America. I am in Oregon here, ready to do another episode of Don't Sweat the Lego Technique. That's right, here on Back to Brick. I am John with Back to Brick. Thank you so much for tuning in. First and foremost, make sure you are subscribed and downloading and listening to the podcast that Garrett so lovingly and professionally puts out every week. We do a new guest every week. It usually comes out on Mondays. And then we do the bricking news on Fridays. So, hello, Claire. How's it going? I'm starting a little bit early so I can get all the housekeeping stuff out of the way so we can start getting going, hopefully right at the beginning. At when I say we're going to start, just because I like to get all that crap out of the way first, right? Hello, welcome. I'm John. Welcome to Back to Brick, and welcome to Don't Sweat the Lego Technique. We are continuing today. What's the podcast name? The podcast name is Back to Brick. It's the same as the Instagram, Back to Brick. Yes, if you look it up, it's on any podcast provider, whether it's Apple, Google. I use Pocket Casts personally. It looks like this. I don't know if I can show you here. I'll show you what our podcast looks like. It looks like that. Back to Brick. All right, everybody, have a look. Boom. There it is. That's our newest one with Jeff Sanders. Brick Bending. He's out of Portland, right down the road. He does awesome, actually here, I just posted, he does stuff like that. It's pretty cool. He makes Lego do things they're not supposed to do. So, yeah, make sure to check out the podcast. Garrett does a great job. I have shown up occasionally here and there, and I will show up down the line. But mostly I'm the guy over here doing the Instagram stuff, the live stream stuff. I brought a lot of the stuff that I was doing over on my personal page over to here. Garrett told me to kind of use it as an extension as my personal page. I've been trying to kind of not be it too much. Hi, Fleur. Welcome. I started a little early just to get the housekeeping out of the way, you know? So he told me to use it as an extension of my page, and I'm pretty conscientious of that. I don't like to do that too much. I like to kind of be mindful of what he's created over here and stick to that program, you know? You can't find it on your podcast, Back to Brick. Try Back, number 2, Brick. Spaces in there or not spaces in there, or Back to Brick. I don't know. It should be on all of them. Should be on all of them. It's our logo. Looks just like that thing right there. Boom, boom. Anyways, welcome to Back to Brick. This is the Instagram feed, not the podcast right now. We are going to continue on with Don't Sweat the Lego Technique. Yesterday, I just posted the video for yesterday's episode with Matthias. It was fantastic. Very thorough. He walked through more studio design with us, and also kind of the ordering from studio to Bricklink, the ins and outs of that. Also kind of how you can erroneously order things that you think are going to fit together, that look like they got the right clicking in studio, and then you order it through Bricklink, and then you get it at home and you realize, that doesn't work. That math doesn't work. That Lego math doesn't work. So it was really good. I highly recommend checking it out. Like I said, I just posted it. I had a very busy day yesterday, so I didn't have a chance to post all the videos. I would have there you go, you found it. Boom, new subscriber. Thank you. Claire's listened to the podcast. My last time, actually the first and last time I was on was for the holiday episode. So I do mostly all this stuff. I was going to say I got a face for podcasts, but that doesn't make sense. I should be on the podcast then, right? I wish my face was on Instagram as much, but oh well, here we are. Thank you once again for tuning into Don't Sweat the Lego Technique. Yes, once again, Matthias yesterday was phenomenal. Always very, very, very thorough. So great. And just a heads up, we had to reschedule a couple episodes this week. Tuesday with Billy, that was my rescheduling faux pas. I had a bunch of stuff take hold here at the end that had to take care of. So we are rescheduled till later today, 12 hours from now. We're going to do Billy's episode, and check this out. He sent me a care package. We're going to customize minifigs. I've never done that before, so shall be interesting, right? I know there are a lot of people waiting for me to cringe hard on there. Yes. Hello, Noah. Thank you. Someone's asking about the MRI. Well, I guess since I started a little bit early, I can give a little bit. If you'd like to know about the MRI, MRI was not good. My shoulder's gone. My rotator cuff is completely separated. The labrum is completely gone, and my bicep is no longer attached to my bone. So I have to go in for surgery. I'm not sure when yet. I should be finding out hopefully today or sometime in the next couple of days. But yeah, surgery's in my future. Very. Yeah, it's 33 years of shoulder, just all that. But we'll be better hopefully on the other side. I have to wear a sling afterwards for an immobilizer for 6 weeks afterwards. That should be fun. It's going to be great for Lego. Okay. Anyways, let's get back to talking about Lego. At least I can talk about Lego. I can do this, but the putting together thing is not going to be so easy. So if you see me doing this a lot today, that's why. Anyways, yes, today we have Fleur Watkins. We're going to go hang out. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm not say none of this for the well wishes, but I appreciate the well wishes. Thank you. Today, of course, we have Fleur Watkins. We're gonna continue on with her brilliance. She left a little nugget of detail. See what I did there? Of what we're gonna go through today. I'm looking forward to it. So we're gonna check in with her there in just a second. And once again, let me tell you that we are doing Billy's episode here at 4 o'clock today, 4 p.m. That's my time, Pacific. So 7 Eastern. We're gonna check in. We're gonna do the customization. This is the episode we were supposed to do on Tuesday. We're doing today. So, and then Kate's episode that we're scheduling is going to be still this coming Wednesday. I'm not sure if we're going to make up this episode that we missed or if we're going to try to kind of combine it in the next 2 episodes. We'll see. Got to check in with Kate. She's got a lot going on in her life. We all have a lot going on in our life. So we're trying to juggle, right? We're trying to juggle. We're here having fun, though. That's what it's all about. And then, of course, tomorrow we close out week 2 of Don't Sweat the Lego Technique Series 2 with Alex, aka Lego Adwind, and he's gonna walk us through more of that guy. I would pick up the box that I have right here, but the shoulder's not really happy this morning, so I'm gonna limit the amount of boom kind of things. But you know what the box looks like, right? And you know what Alex looks like, and you know what Home Alone set looks like. So we're gonna go through that tomorrow. Okay. Today we go with Fleur Watkins. Oh, by the way, I announced some more people for Don't Sweat the Lego Technique Series 4 that's happening. That's starting at the Brick Bazaar. Tricky Bricks, announced them. Flynn and Richard. They're going to be walking us through some from Friends scene building. It's fantastic. I'm so excited to have Flynn and Richard here. Yay. Okay, getting back. There's more information online if you want to look it up. But right now we're talking about Series 2 with Fleur. We're going to get into detail work with her and her phenomenal detail work that she's shown us so lovingly in advance. Look at that. God, I love that. I love it. Jesse would be so happy right now. I hope he's going to be watching this very soon. Jesse Brick Design. He's such a sucker for those kind of details. So thank you so much, Fleur, for giving us the advance. And we're going to head out to her right now. See if she's ready to hang out and talk Lego. Let's see. Welcome, everyone, by the way. I am John, a.k.a. Blockhead23, with Back to Rick, the podcast, and Instagram. There she is. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Not too bad. I'm sorry to hear about your shoulder, though. That's not good.
You know, honestly, it was more of a relief than anything because of the amount of times that I've done MRIs, X-rays, doctor's visits over the last 30+ years to finally have something concise and like concrete is quite. My doctor, when she gave me the results, I was like, oh yes. And she was like, I've never really heard someone respond that way to MRI results that are not good before. And I'm like, you have no idea what I've been through. I'm just happy to have some results. So moving forward, it's all that matters.
Now I'm going to try and adjust my camera, but I did, like, just minutes before I came on, I had a weird Lego injury happen that involved the stand that I'm holding my phone with. So
oh, no. Wait, are you
Usually
okay
I
with
have the ring
self-performance?
light on, but the ring light's not great for working with white, and I'm using a lot of white today in what I'm doing. So anyway,
Are you?
somehow I bumped it, and the whole stand came crashing down on my hand. Lego flew everywhere. This was literally all over the floor. I was like, shit. And but you know, if you like hit your head and you get like an egg on your head, I have that on my hand right now.
Are you okay?
Well, I am, but it's a bit sore. But I want to like move the thing around, but I'm like really nervous about that happening again.
Although it would be very entertaining to watch live.
It was quite dramatic, and I was just like, jeepers. Looked down at my hand, this massive like big lump on my hand. I went, great, that's just brilliant timing when I'm going to be playing with Lego, and I can't even move my hand properly, but that's all right. That's all
The things
good.
we do for Lego.
Yeah, so let me just try and move it. Just be
Okay.
kind to me, Stan. Be kind to me. I'm just going to go back a little bit, so I'm not.
Fingers crossed. Now you're not. You're on the road again.
I am. So I'm in Sydney with my little boy. We're just having 3 nights away because he starts school in a week. So like his first year at school. So it's kind of our little holiday before he starts school. So he wanted to see the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and he wanted to see the Opera House. So we've been doing that today, and we've had a huge day again. But the rain stopped outside, so that's good. So hopefully our internet's going to be a-okay for this, and yeah.
I think you swapped it. We were talking earlier before we got on here, and you were talking about the rain out there, and I think it's now here. You sent it to Oregon because literally right as I walked out the door after we were messaging, because I had to come to my attic, it just starts coming down. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to be the one that loses Wi-Fi.
That was my gift to you. So yeah. The Wi-Fi in the holiday park doesn't work at all, but I've got data, so it should be okay. It should be fine.
I'm hoping I stay strong.
Yeah. But knowing that potentially things may drop out, shall we jump right in and of course throw me any questions? Have you already had your chat with Cheesy Bricks?
Yes. I chatted with Caleb yesterday. It was fantastic. I haven't posted the video yet. I was so busy yesterday. I did the episode with Matthias, and then directly after I chatted with Caleb, and then directly after that I had to drive to Portland to go pick up my wife. So I just posted Matthias's episode before I came on here. Then I'll post Caleb's, and then I'll post yours, and then yeah. But it was great. We had such a fun time. He's a real hoot.
Awesome. We were at the zoo today, and I came around the corner, and this family came around the corner at the same time, and they were like, "Oh my God, it's you!" And I was like, "I guess it is." And it's so random because Lego Masters in Australia aired back in April and May, but they had literally watched the episode that I get eliminated, which is the penultimate episode, today.
So they were like, "You're here. They
were like, we were literally watching you on TV this morning. Now you're in front of us at the zoo." And the woman was like, "I've been crying all morning because you got eliminated." And I'm like, "It's okay. It was only, it was the second to last episode. I was tired. I was fine." But it was just such weird timing.
Yeah, no, it was funny because just like seeing him while he had a little bit of reunion while we did the live stream, because he had seen some folks from Lego Masters pop in that he hadn't seen necessarily in a while or hadn't seen online. So there was a little reunion of sorts, and then you start seeing people going, "Hey, Caleb, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan." And I'm just like, I'll try to keep up with the comments, but we're gonna chat right now. He was definitely inundated with some comments. He was a fun guy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's hear. Hey, Bobby, by the way. Hey, welcome. My buddy Bobby.
Hi, everyone.
Here in Atlanta. He's out there in Atlanta. So I don't get to see him on the live streams very often. I'm happy he's here.
Oh, beautiful. Hello. All right.
All right. What you got for us?
Yeah. Hopefully, I always find when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the comments so much. So I'm going to hold things up to the camera, and hopefully other people can see what I'm doing. But anyway. Yeah. So last week when we chatted, I talked a lot about color palette and about odd numbers and they're going to come up again today in what we're doing in some of the architectural detail, because they're things that I'm really passionate about. But I wanted to start with talking about windows and doors. So anytime that I create a house out of Lego, I always start with windows and doors. And I will sit there and spend up to 2 hours on a window or a door. And I want to make sure that window or door is perfect and is exactly the look and feel that I want for the genre of house that I'm going with, which often is terrace houses or 1920s, 30s sort of architecture, Art Deco sort of things. But whatever it is, I start with the windows and doors, because if you can get those right, everything else builds around it and builds quite simply. I just think you can overcomplicate what sits behind the windows and doors. Keep it simple. If you're going with a really ornate window or door, keep everything else really, really simple. So I have a half-built house that was a full-built house here, so that we can have a look at windows and doors. So we're going to start with the door. So I literally can pull them out. So when I have windows and doors, I literally have them as separate entities and then start to build from there, build up around it. So looking at a door, obviously we talk a lot about snot and how important it is to, if you're going to build out, you need to start with snot in the frame of what you're doing. And we talked about mathematics last time, the mathematics of snot, which for most people know this, but one piece of snot 4 bricks high and another piece of snot, and that will always line up the plate that you then layer up on top of it. There's lots of different kinds of snot, and so up the top here, at the top of my door, I've got one of the 2x2 pieces of snot, because I really like putting straight flat plates across the top of things. So I've got my little door. I'm just going to pop that back over here, and what I'm going to do is build up one of the panels that sits on the edge of the door. Everything's a little bit broken because it fell off the table. Okay.
For those that are tuning in late, we had before we went on live, we had a Lego related accident. So Fleur had Lego everywhere. It was chaos. It was drama.
I did. It's drama. Now I've got a bruised hand, but you know, it could be worse. It could be my face. So there you go.
Fair point.
There you go. We don't need hands when we're doing Lego. All right. So then, knowing that I have this snot there, I can then build out from the plates to create architectural detail. And I'm really, really into layering. And the elements that I like using the most are the end of hinges. So not the clip, but what do you even call that?
Well, hinge. I mean, it's a what? Yeah. It's a 1x2 modified hinge.
Yeah, hinge plate. Yeah. Hinge. I use them all the time. Anything like that, or the bar frames as well, the modified plate bar frame ones. I just love them for architectural detail. I think they're great. So I don't necessarily clip hinges to it very often, but I definitely use them for layering up. So, and I also love dots. And it's funny because I don't do mosaics, but I love dots for architecture, but only in certain colors. Pretty much I've only ever used dots in white, black, dark gray, and light gray, and that's it.
So do you say dots as in like just the generic term for the dots, or are you talking about the actual dot sets? Do you buy dot sets? Right.
I buy dot sets.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Mainly because I don't usually use just the dot. I use like the half arch or the quarter tile, but all the time.
Right.
So, okay, so I sort of take you through how I would build up a panel. So starting with a plate, a 1x8 plate, and then a 1x6 plate coming on top. And so you can see I'm working with a white and gray color palette for this, and I'm really passionate about going two-tone in colors, not going over the top with colors. I just think sitting down and being considered with the way you use color will give you a nice end result. So then at either end of this, because I'm going to lay up from the middle, I tend to work sort of middle out. I'm going to put a dot on either end of this, and they're the ones that are flat on one side and then have an arch. So it kind of gives a rounded feel. I'm always about architectural detail, trying to get the roundness into it. And because I've used white with the grey behind, a light grey, and my whole building is grey, it's going to give the illusion of it just being a curved panel that sits on top of the grey.
Sure, sure.
So then I'm going to do a 1x2 plate in the very middle. So we're building up and up and up. So we're now effectively 1 brick high. And then I'm going to use those modified plates on either end. Hopefully you can all see that okay. I didn't use my ring light because it just gives you too much glare off white bricks.
Plus they're dangerous.
They're dangerous. Are they? Well, oh yeah, no, mine is bloody dangerous. So then I'm going to put tiles on the top. I have to say I am obsessed with flat tiling. I really don't like studs showing almost at all in the builds that I do. It's very, very rare on one of my builds that you'll see studs. Occasionally I like them for effect and texture, but in general I plate everything. I like really smooth things. And I use jumper plates all the time. Yeah. So I'm using a jumper plate up the top because when I've got my little panel like this, I then want to use another dot, the ones that I use the most, the little wedgy ones, to put that on there to give me that architectural detail. And the beautiful thing about using a jumper plate, of course, and I know this is probably quite basic technique, but for some people who are new to mock made, I love it. Fuck me studs. I know. I hate
Lewis.
so
Lewis
much.
is not very. Lewis is not shy when he likes to share his opinion.
It was so funny. Honestly, it was a huge thing in the show in Lego Masters. Everyone knew that I hated studs showing, and the amount of times that I would get the advice, we don't really have time to tile everything, Fleur. I'd be like, we're making time, because I can't stand it. All right, so we've got our little panel, and I can just put that straight onto the build. So I'll just bring that up. So that's either side of the front door.
Yeah. Oh, such a nice detail.
But then I want to build up an interesting panel to sit on the top of it. So what I often do is use a 2x2 width plate so that I can sit out from the building as well. So if I'm having that sitting up on top of the door, it allows me to bring detail further out. To sort of give you that awning. Now you could go even further than that so that you get like something sitting right over the door and hang a light underneath it. You could go further out with plates, but for this little detail I'm just using a 2, and it's actually one of those lip snot pieces. I'll just take this off so you can see. So I've got one of those little really thin lip snot pieces, and I've used the 2 dots on either side, the little quarter ones, use them all the time. And again, I'm using a jumper plate, but this time with that little rounded thingamajig, all the technical terms.
I literally just used that on the Grogu. Here, hold on. It's such a good use of a detail. I only bring that up because I just built this, and the using of those that little. It's such a nice little. I love those little pieces. They do such a nice little job.
I'm obsessed with those for architecture. I love them so much. And then because I like that kind of flat look and I like tiles, I'm just using the grey tile on the top and having it overhang as well, so that we get that sort of look. So that's
got a regality to it.
Yeah, so that's going to go right on the top here. So I'm just going to pop that on the top, but then we've still got more detail to sit underneath it. So we're building up and up. Okay. So then, because I've got underneath it, I've got your double layer snot. I'm then going to go with a 6x2 plate. And again, I'm using your 4 rounded grey dots. And then I'm going to build up again. Now, because I like to layer massively, and I just think layering and having lots of different levels within one plate, you might have up to 3 or 4 different levels. It makes more interesting. So because I know I'm going to want to sit over the top of these ones, I need to put a plate either side of them. and I'll just put one on one side and one on the other. It's like a cooking
By the
dough.
way, Quentin corrects us. They're called bread loaves, those pieces that we keep talking, those little pieces that we love. So, yeah.
We love the bread loaves. Love them.
Yes.
So I popped a plate on here, and then I'm going to use one of those modified bar frames. Again, things clip to, but I don't use them for clips. I always use them for architectural detail. And then again, I'm going to use the white little dots. So this time, kind of giving a bit of a floral sort of look. And then in the middle, we're going 2 by 2 type brick in the light grey again, with the underside of the one that swivels around. I'm so bad with element names. Don't expect the Lego technique, the one that swivels around. You know what I'm talking about though, yeah.
The 2 by 2.
Yeah. See, this is why I need you, John. You can tell me all the element names. I'll tell you how I use them.
It's okay. I was watching you walk through. I'm like, here we go.
So funny. I was like, I can't give the name of it. It's 11 o'clock at night for me, and I've just bashed my hands.
We're not here about it. We're not here to be technical about element names.
Don't spit the Lego technique. Don't name the Lego element. Okay.
Thank you, Suraj. Thank you so much.
So then we've got, this is the detail that we've ended up with. I love those pieces so much though. I first sort of discovered them in the Taj Mahal when I bought the Taj Mahal build, and they're all over the floor of it. And I was like, ooh, I really like them for floor, but I like them for roofs, and I've used them in churches and all sorts of stuff. I love them. So then I'm going to pop that piece into here. I'll just have to pull that off so I can get to it.
Now, mind you, she's using the base plate of the spinner thingy. What was the technical term? I forget what it's called now. It's I actually know what it's called, and I'm drawing a blank on. But
yeah.
So you use that, just use it without the extra piece for
detail. Yeah. Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah. And especially if you've got a color behind it, so like a light gray, it works really well because it looks kind of floral. So that's what our door ended up looking like. So it's just snot and more snot, really.
Yeah.
And planning it from the beginning. But I will literally, no word of a lie, will spend like a good hour on a door and then go, okay, the door's given me the flavor of the rest of the house. So
sure.
Then I'll move on to the window and that kind of thing. So then in this as well, I've got down the bottom the little gate pieces, but I want them to be not like a gate or a window. I want them to be a sort of design element. So if I'm going to do that, I always build behind it. So I'm just building behind it so that you get gray sitting behind it. So now,
with that, are you using those recessed pieces, the 1 by, what is it? Or I'm sorry, it's 4 by 1 or whatever, the recessed window pieces?
I haven't in this case. I've actually just used, excuse the lack of tile at the bottom of this, I've just used a sloped piece behind it, and then I would put a tile on top of it, and potentially build up like a flower or something, or a pot behind it sitting in the window as a way of, getting, hi Rick, hi everyone, hi Snowlena. So yeah, so that's my door there. And then what I thought we would just have a quick look at a very similar technique's been used to get the window to look like that as well. I'll just take this off. Oh, thank you. It's just playing though, it's just taking your time with it. So I'll just show you the top of this.
It's like building greebling.
Yeah, totally. So you can see up here, if I hold it up like that, it's actually 4 of those hinged pieces in a row. And obviously you've just always got to think about locking it in up the top as well. So I tend to build up for ages and then go, oh gosh, I really need to lock this across the top with, a plate or, now again, I'm not going to know the technical term for this, but it is the plate modified with the lip.
Yeah.
I literally use them in almost every single architecture build I do because
they became one of, like, during series 1, it became one of the most popular pieces that people
yeah.
so.
They're great because hey David, the one of our winners of Lego Masters season 3 Australia is on at the moment. Hi.
Yeah, I was gonna say hi. I didn't want to interrupt, but hi David, how's it going? We had a nice chat yesterday.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, I love those lit out pieces because what I was talking about earlier about keeping really plain and simple in the rest of your build if you've got a very ornate window or a very ornate door, but that's a way of just adding a little tiny bit of texture without really adding overkill. It's just every sort of two bricks above the window, one below the window, I'll just add a lip across the entire width of my building and it'll just give it texture. So always really into those. So speaking about texture, this build actually used to be a double-story house, and it had the window on the top.
Did the ring light take care of that, or did you?
That would be the moving company.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
The moving company that stacked all the builds that I'd built, all the MOCs saying, please, please, keep my builds safe, wrap them. They didn't. They shoved them all on top of each other in boxes with heavy stuff, and they were just decimated. So I was like, cheers for that. That's great.
Well, the beauty of Lego.
You can put it back together. Yeah. But so it did used to be a double-story building, so I've kind of got a double roof here, but I want to talk about the way I've just put it together as a single piece so you can have a look at it. But the first part of the roof, I just want to talk about the joy of 1x1 rounds. It's so simple, but it adds texture. Yeah. And it also adds shadow. So what I'm going to do is just pop this back on here for a moment. Okay, so we've got this here, and I've just got an extra brick high above my door frame to get a bit of height. Always, it's probably so obvious it's obvious to me because I do it all the time, but to some people who don't do a lot of architecture, always give yourself space above an architectural detail. If you go straight on a plate on top of it, you're hiding all the detail and you can't see it from when you stand back from your build, put the roof on and stand back and go, have I given it enough height? Because it's still in minifigure scale because the doors are minifig scale, but it doesn't mean you can't have high ceilings and add 1 or 2 rows to give it that height, to let your detail breathe. It's so important.
That's exactly why we're doing the show right now. So tell people this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Lewis mentions earlier the shadowing, like you mentioned about having the 1x1s for the shadowing, and like texture was one, of course, key. That's the first thing that people think about. But what you also don't think about is the shadowing, and that's you can see it right there. You can just see the shadowing right there. Yeah, that's the artistic side of the Lego here. You've got to understand that the twain do meet, and Lego is an art form first and a play form first. So look at it. It's just I love it when it comes together like
and that's shadowing with no lights. With no lights at all in the build. Once you add light into the build, you get even more out of that shadow. And it's funny because I talk about me hating studs, but I love using studs underneath to give shadow. Because and the other thing that you could do, because I've used 1x1 rounds that are the hollow, you could even add things like Harry Potter wands sticking up into there, or the unicorn sort of ones sticking down, and you'll get really interesting shadow. As I say, it's art, and it's so important.
And Rick brings up the point like about having the high roofs and whatnot, like high ceilings. I think it works regardless, even if you do have to, if that's what you're considering, quote unquote, sacrificing for the detail or whatever, is to have higher ceilings or roofs or whatever. I mean, I, for one, think that's a good detail to have alone anyways, the high ceilings, the high roofs. Gives you more to work with anyways, too.
Absolutely. And roofs are, we're going to move on to a roof just right now, but roofs are a separate thing as well. Think about how detailed you go with the roof and what you do with the roof. There's a huge temptation to show off technique and to go, I can do a pitched roof or I can do this, but what roof is going to serve the rest of the architecture? So I do a lot of terrace houses that tend to have flatter roofs because there's so much detail in the windows and the doors that if the roof is too much, it draws your eye away. So always with Lego, composition is key, and is looking at a piece and going, where do I want the eye to go? Right. Do I want the eye to go to the front door? Do I want the eye to go to this beautiful ornate balcony with all the detail in it? Or do I want it to go to the roof? Our eye can't naturally go everywhere. There's a big thing that we were taught on the show, and it makes so much sense, is draw the audience in, or draw the person appreciating your art in, and then hold their attention. So what is the first thing you want them to look at? And then, but look at all the details around it. So just think about, and that's where color palette, again, I keep coming back to it, but it comes into it again, because if you go like a crazy big color, bye Rick, nice that you could pop in, it's lovely to see you. If you go like a crazy contrasting color in the roof, now you might want to do that as an artistic choice, but sometimes it's too much and it just like actually takes away from the art of your build, because you've just made a wrong choice on color. So those things, and the brilliant thing about Lego, it's not paint. You can put the color on and then go, no, I don't like it. Try something else.
You can start your canvas at any time you want. You can restart your canvas at any time you want. Bye, Rick, by the way. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so I want to talk about roofs. So this was the top roof that I'm looking at here for my terrace roof. So it's flat on top, but it's got detail on the front of it. And again, I'm using shadow again. So this sits above the roof that we've already got right now, but it did sit right on top. But I wanted to talk about odd numbers. I talked about this when I was taking you through my theatre build. And you can, if we're using a 16 by 16. I build houses all the time on a 16 by 16. It's just an easy plate to use because, you know, you can get a nice square and it's a good starting point. But 16 by 16 is obviously an even number, and we've got
bye Louis.
So funny, I love it. So obviously it's an even number. We've got 8 2 by 2. So how do we make that an odd number? Because odd numbers really work in architecture. Well, if we split and do a 1 by 1 here and here, then we're left with 7 in the middle. So we immediately get our odd number. Okay. So I'm going to build the detail piece that I've done on the end here so that you can see what it's made up of. Really, really simple elements. And then I'm just going to talk about how we've got an odd number thing happening in the middle. So I love these pieces. Again, modified.
Do you find that those are some of the most difficult ones to click in? I find that they are always there. There's always the top's going in, the bottom will go in, the bottom's going in, the top going, especially of course in smaller areas. But that's the one. I love that element so much.
I love it so much. I use it all the time.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just using one of those and
bye, Michael.
1 by 1 underneath it. So then I've got 1 plate high sitting here. So what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to stick.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you guys so much. I know it's super late and also super early, so we really appreciate anyone who's joining in here. So then again, another little cute element. Love these for detail on architecture. I'm putting that underneath so that we end up with a flat bottom on that. And then I'm using our friend, the bread loaf, in grey.
I almost spit out my coffee.
Well, it's bread loaf. It must be time for toast for you in the morning.
It sure is. Almost
I'm so impressed. You're amazing how early you start. So yeah, so I've got like a nice curve feel. And again, all about tiles. It's all about curves and not feeling like studs when I'm doing architecture. I always want it to feel curved or feel smooth.
Right,
Always.
right.
So
And Pink Wheel says if you were on odd number of studs, I offset using jumpers to get back to even studs, which is yep.
100%, 100%. Yeah, I'm in the front door here in the middle. Though we're obviously working with even numbers, I very intentionally put a jumper plate in the very center so that it would look like 3 across or 5 across instead of looking always.
It's one thing that's easy to kind of just step over is using odd numbers within Lego because it's so easily put together for even numbers. So I'm so happy that we're focusing on that.
Yeah, it's just, I just feel like in architecture, if I'm looking, and in general, if I look at things, I just three or 5 or 7 sits better for me than looking at even numbers. I don't know why.
Well, I believe in symmetry. I'm a big fan of symmetry. So when you're working in odd numbers, you have the capability of having true symmetry, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, I mean, you can obviously do it with 2s and 4s and 3s, but I think you find a true mirror with odds for me anyways. That's how my mind.
And I mean, it's something to do with also like pairing things up can sometimes not feel as real to me. So even if you were thinking about building a farm and having animals on the farm, if we had 2 sheep and 2 goats and 2 horses, that doesn't feel natural to me. But if I had like 5 sheep and 3 goats and 2 horses, it would feel a little bit more organic.
Okay.
And
less planned.
Yeah, the same as when, you know, I build a lot of Lego food, and I always say to people, don't make it odd even numbers. Don't make it all patterned. Like if you're doing a cupcake or a cookie and you're putting dots as sprinkles, do them really haphazardly, because an actual cookie isn't all symmetrical. It doesn't have 1, 2, 3. You know, so just thinking about those
Not
things.
as meticulous.
Yeah. Like the devil's in the detail though, isn't it? You know?
Sure,
and
right?
I think
Which is exactly what we're here for.
Yeah. You can churn out a mock a week and then be fine and you learn as you go. But sometimes I'd rather spend a month to just get the details so that I'm really happy with it, because I'm really pedantic. Right. And I just think, you know, it's your art. So then
Did you call yourself pedantic?
I'm so pedantic. I can be. So at the top of this, in the middle, so often I just use the most simple Lego bricks to create technique. I don't have like crazy elements happening. I've got profile bricks in the background, and I've done 3 of the ones that are like bricks but turned around the back so that you've just got the lines. So
masonry bricks? Yeah,
masonry bricks. You can see from the back, yep. And then in the very middle, I've got the one that's just all lined. I don't know if you can see that. Now, I've done it purposefully to break it up so that it's very clearly 3, then 1, then 3, because it gives me my odd number. And then over in the middle here, I've got 14 different elements, but I've got 7 of each. I've got two different types, 7 of each. So I've got this one, which is so simple. It's just 2 1x1 studs and then a 1x1 plate. Just so.
Oh, one on top. Yep, got
it. Stud, plate, stud. And then between those, I've just got your cheese wedge in the grey. Just sitting in there. So really simple elements, but they.
Oh, those are cheese. I thought those were the pyramids for a second there. You know.
No, cheese wedge. Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, it just gives you a little detail. I'm just going to put it on the top of the build so that you can see the end result of that and how the shadow works with it, and how it works with that line that sits underneath it as well. So I'll show you from the side.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
So obviously when it was a 2-story, it gave a bit more space to that roof, because you had another layer on top that was quite simple but had 1 of these windows and then 2 just really fine thin windows either side of it. Again, 3s. Yeah, so that. That
That's
is it.
great. And Quentin reminds us that cheese loaves and bread, or cheese slopes and bread loaves go nicely together. And yes,
They do. They do. They do. Curves and slopes, curves and slopes. But yeah, I mean, you can see like totally my building style from this. Like, we're not seeing any studs kind
right.
of
It's so
anywhere.
clean. I'm admiring even like your rooftop tiling work.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just because, like you said, you know, you're very anti-stud, and you'll even see folks that who are very opposed to studs still have studs on their rooftop because of
Yeah,
case counts.
no, I hate doing it. And but also, like again, detail. But what I will always do if I'm doing a rooftop and I want to do color contrast, so I've got the dark gray and the light gray,
Mm-hmm.
but it's probably not obvious on screen, but the light gray is raised up by one plate. So you've got a recessed roof in the,
Oh, sure. Yeah, 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 yeah,
just
yeah.
by one.
Could
Because
you
it's
do me
just,
one favor though? Could you do me a
yeah.
huge favor on the back corner of that build? Could you push down on it because it's not pushed down all the way?
There you go. That possibly
The
could
neurotic
be.
person in me.
No, it could be because of that little adventure that it had on the floor.
I know. I just keep seeing it. It's like,
I know. Push it down. Push it down.
hi,
So
Bartek. What's up, buddy?
I love it. Yeah, and that's just again about texture. I guess the sort of key for me with the way I build is texture, studs out, shadow, and color. And texture comes right to the roof for me. If I'm looking down at a roof, I don't want it to be flat because roofs are not flat. How many buildings have you ever seen where the roof is straight flat? Usually no, it has guttering around it, it has
Yeah.
a lip around it. So just, yeah, really,
Well,
really.
it takes you back to the old Lego days when the elements weren't so wide and varied that you only had mostly 90 degrees or 45 degrees or whatever to work with. So you did have a lot back then. You know, the flat roofs with studs on top, you know, to make
Yeah,
the old school car wash or gas station or whatever. And now you've seen the evolution, of course, of Lego as we've grown in elements and we've grown in artistic ways to use the elements themselves, because
absolutely.
it goes a long way to not only just have the availability of elements, but also have the creativity that go with a limited supply of elements as well. So.
Absolutely. And so much about the way that I build. I'm a really organic builder. So I've never used Studio. I've never used a digital program at all. But I like to like fossil through my white or my gray or my black and find pieces that feel like architecture for me and
Right.
just start with a window or start with a door. And even if you're not building the whole house, that's okay. Just start with the window and start with the door.
That was one of the, I think, and you started out with today. You say about starting out with windows and doors, and I think that was such a very, very wise bit of information, because it's so daunting if people are starting to, if they do want to do a mock, and say they do. And Bartek's in here right now. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he does those gorgeous facades, or not facades, but their whole buildings all throughout his city. And you know, to look at one of those and go, okay, I want to build one of those. It's extremely daunting. Or what you have right in front of you, what you've placed in front of us is supremely daunting for someone who has not, you know, necessarily made their own mock or has made smaller mocks. But when you say, hey, start with a window, start with a door, that's approachable. That gives you an idea. That gives you a theme. That gives
100%.
you a vibe. That gives you a color theme. It gives you a style of architecture maybe that you want to go down. And so that, I think that alone, just taking that little bit of information alone from that. Thank you so much, Pink Wheels. That little bit of information alone helps so many, I think.
Yeah, and it also can be the element that you start with, the piece that you start with, can be where you decide to draw the eye, and everything else you can go, okay, I don't need to overkill that because I want the eye to come here. In the case of this build, I wanted the eye to come to the door.
Right.
But then, you know, it might be that you're going to do a really simple building, but with a very ornate roof, or something like, you know, those Gothic style haunted house roofs that have got, and then the rest of it, keep it really simple. If you think about like the Psycho house from the movie Psycho, and the detail that's up the top of the house, but the rest of it's very plain, very flat. But your eyes going, oh wow, look at, you know, that sort of gothic haunted house feel. It's very simple. Even the windows, there's not a lot happening. There's not a lot around it, because where does your eye want to go? And it's just so important to think about that. So yeah. So have we got time to do a little bit of furniture? We got like sort of 15 minutes, or
we got as much time. We have no time constraints. The only time constraint we have is how long you can stay awake and nurse that injured hand.
The swelling has massively come down, so that's good. I'm really pleased about that. Yeah, I just wanted to I just threw together a little bed, and look, because my Lego room is not unpacked at the moment, because of course I've just moved interstate and my Lego's all in boxes. We're getting a whole upstairs of our house recarpeted. Until that happens, which is another week away, I can't set up my Lego room. But the gift of the movers smashing everything was that one of the builds that I had put together was the medieval blacksmith, okay?
Yeah.
And that got destroyed. So, and also Hedwig, the owl, got destroyed. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do? I want to do some furniture. So I'm going to challenge myself to build a bed of elements that came from one of those two builds.
Love it.
So that's how we ended up with this.
Love it.
So the only thing you have to forgive me is that the snot pieces that I use are in the tan, which kills me from a color palette. Because they should be brown, but
so when you do your builds, let me ask this real quick. So when you do your builds and you're doing the gutty works and you're doing the hiding of the gutty works and whatnot, all of the structural stuff, you want to stay in color?
Yeah.
That is difficult. That is difficult.
I'm meticulous, mate. I'm painful.
So your opera house is all the same color?
All of it, yeah. Everything. So there's probably, in that build, there's probably 6,000 or 7,000 pieces, all in the tan or the dark red with a few gold elements.
So there's not a lime green or a hot pink or a yellow to be found anywhere?
Oh God, no, John. We can't be doing that. No.
Wow. Oh my God. That's amazing. That's impressive.
I can't, even like if it's something nobody else will see, I will know. Like
wow.
If it's, yeah.
I know how it goes. I know I had to get over myself with that because, like, you know, I bought those 1,500 box elements just to get extra pieces so I could have those. And I'm like, I can't even see the element that they are because of the color that they are. I can't see that it's a 2x4. All I see is you know, this orange that I'm never going to use. But I got to learn to.
Yeah.
But Adnan says staying in color promotes clever part usage, which is totally correct.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, color palette just drives me so much in the way that I design. So I think I mean, I understand, like, if you think about a build like the Statue of Liberty architecture build, it's got the bright colors through the middle of it, and it actually helps you when you're building it because you've got so much going in the same color. It does help you. I can understand the strategy of it, but I just don't ever use it. So
it's impressive.
So this is it's a pretty simple bed. I had to throw some plates together at the bottom because obviously I was just sifting through the box going, and I needed a double layer, so I didn't have quite the plate that I was after, but I threw some together. So I'll just pull the end off so you can have a wee look. All right. So.
Oh yeah! Wow.
And the funny thing about this is really similar to the way I do architecture. I just start with something, and I was actually building like one of those crockery shelves, you know, like a hutch dresser. That's what I started building. And then when I got a little bit further into it, it was too tall and it wouldn't have worked for minifig scales. So I went, you know what, I'm gonna turn that into a bed. So it just shows you that just the detail can work in lots of different pieces of furniture. But what this is, obviously it's got snot sitting behind it. I know I'm going to do snot because I know I want to layer out, and I've got my lovely friends with the lip on there, 2 of those. So I've put them on top.
How do you have those connected together? You have 2 of them? You say
I have 2 of them.
What are they connected together with?
They are connected together with, and I can't get it off of my finger now. There we go. So I'll just pop them back on 2 seconds.
Morning, Brandon. Sorry.
That's all right. So they're stuck just onto the snot at the back, but then I've actually...
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, I've stuck them together with a jumper plate, though.
Okay, that's what I was
Yeah, there's a jumper plate in the middle and then a dot on the top, and then brown cheese wedges either side of those. Then that's all sitting on top of, so we've got, I'll just pull this apart. These awesome snot pieces, I love them. The double layer ones, so cool.
They're great.
And popping dots.
Have you seen the 1x2 angle pieces? Not the actual. What is it? They used to be the 1x1 90-degree angle where it's just snot. It's not an actual element.
Oh yeah.
Now they have the 1x2.
Yeah. So cool, hey? So cool. And they're always coming out with new stuff. It's so exciting. So then I've got that, so obviously got windows. I love using windows for furniture. I think they're so cool, especially these little gold windows that come in a lot of the castle sets. They're really cool. I love these modified pieces with the little curve.
So many in that thing. In the Coliseum. Oh my God, there's so many in that. Yeah.
And they'll be in my favorite color too, in the tan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'll just pop that back together. And because, as with architecture, I hate studs up, so I often tile the top of whatever I'm doing, almost always.
Yeah.
Then
Bartek's saying how he uses a lot of these same elements along how you're talking about how you're roofing, with your shading and everything. You guys have very, very similar techniques in that.
Yeah, cool. So then, because I was challenging myself to use the medieval blacksmith for the pillows, I've used the roof tiles, which are the shields.
Those are great. Yeah.
They're really cool. To get the right angle, obviously the beautiful hinges.
Mm-hmm.
Works so simple, but then you can obviously just pop them onto the base there. I'll just bring it up so I can get you there. Which makes it so easy to angle the pillows down. I've just tiled a blanket just out of Hedwig, what I can find.
Is that, I see that you have something hanging off the edge there. Is that just
It is a, it's funny, we actually call this, over in Lego Masters Australia, we call this a Gus brick, because Gus, who won the show, used these in every single build. So we call it a Gus brick, but it's just one of those little curvy tiles that you get loads of them, and the Statue of Liberty had loads through them. The reason I chose to do that is because I wanted it to feel organic, and as if it was a little bit of the blanket that was just off the the bed, just little things like that. It would be so easy instead of that to just put the curved tile and have a perfectly symmetrical blanket, or to use the ones that we used on the roof before that, but that's not the way a bed would really look. A bed always has a little bit of jubies. Jubies, yeah. And then, so down the bottom of the bed, I've obviously done the legs as the same element that I've used up the top there. In the back, I just used 2 of the normal ones because in the medieval blacksmith, I only had 4. So I had to work out how I was going to use them. And then I just wanted to show how you could use some just interesting element technique in the front of the bed. So I've got 1x1 cylinders, but then next to that I've just put a gold 1x1 starch, and then a clip on top of it. What a nice detail. Just put the rail. Look, in the ideal world, and this came down to annoying, couldn't find the parts in the box, I would raise it up one higher with another 1x1 stud, so that frame sat just a little bit higher. To me, it's sitting just a touch. It's sitting flush basically on top of that rail, which doesn't give the rail quite enough space. It still gives an interesting detail, but if it was raised by one plate higher, it would be better.
Yeah, I can see it'll separate it, give you a little bit more of the eye of that detail. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. It's a little bit lost, but I thought it's still worth putting in there to just show you, just experiment with it. It's just about getting simple, clean detail, not going over the top, but having I use dots all the time. It's so interesting what you can do with dots for architectural detail on furniture. And treat furniture the same way that you treat a building. So in this case, I keep this end of the bed fairly simple because this end of the bed's pretty ornate.
Sure.
So, like, where does your eye want to go? I want the eye to go to the bed head and the pillows in this case. So keep the rest of it a little bit simple.
Yeah.
If you went with a really, like a very busy bedspread, which you might want to, keep the rest of the bed simple. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. If you go too busy, all the other details get lost.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and the other trick with furniture, because I'm really into minifig scale furniture, I love it because it harks back to doing doll's house furniture making, which I used to do out of wood. So always, this seems so obvious when I say it, but always have a minifig with you when you're building the furniture and keep putting it on the bed or standing it next to, because when I was doing this as a hutch dresser, I stood the minifig next to it and went, nah, they can't reach it. And it's frustrating. It is frustrating when you look at it. It's amazing how low things have to be, like in a kitchen, how low an oven has to be to make it work with a minifig, really, because they're not very tall.
Yeah,
you know?
Jesse, hey, what's up, Ben? Jesse from Brick Design has really driven that home for me with his videos and how he does all of the furniture builds for minifig scale and everything. It's really just kind of made me way more mindful. And of course, I did the Don't Spend the Lego Technique Series 1 with him, and walking through the episodes with him made it so much more made me so much more mindful of what I am using to scale it to minifig scale, and what is okay to cheat with, what's not okay to cheat with, so on and so forth. So
absolutely, I find particularly kitchens, like my favorite things to do are kitchens and toilets.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Well, you know it. I love that you tagged me in that little doubly.
Well, I tagged James too, Ministry of Making, who loves making his toilets as well, and he was just like, "Stop bullying me! I love making toilets."
So funny. But I was going to say, I really love doing kitchens. I love all the architecture that goes into kitchens and all the things that you can do. But kitchens are actually really difficult to get the detail in around ovens and stuff because of the height, because of how limited you are. So sometimes I do cheat in kitchens, and I'll put one extra plate into the floor along where the bench is going to be, so that and then I tile the top of it and make it look like a step, so that my minifig is actually standing a little bit higher to get more detail in what I'm doing. So
that's a great little nugget right there. I love that. They actually had to do a little bit of cheating in the kitchen on that one a little bit to make it minifig scale, because it's not, I mean, which is so weird, because you know, Lego is so well known for its minifigs, yet they're so bad at making things minifig scale. It's interesting. I don't mean bad, but it's just, it seems like it almost makes it difficult to make things at minifig scale because of the math, really.
Yeah, and because of the level of detail you want to get to. If you think about an oven, often you want to go like a window, just a little window, just one this high for an oven. But immediately, as soon as you do that, it's actually better to turn them up the other way and have them from snot going across, because then they're just that little bit lower. But still, as soon as you put an element on top of that, then the minifig's kind of like that to try and get to it. So yeah, it is a really interesting challenge, but attack it. But I just thought this was an interesting one to build, because if you are starting out with MOCs, if you're someone who's watching who maybe isn't doing a lot, one of the very first ways you can start is by taking a set that you've built and that you're like ready to pack down, because you know that's what I do. I sort of rotate my builds that I buy. I buy a set. There are certain sets like the grand piano and the typewriter that will never get broken down. They always stay displayed. But a lot of the idea sets or the modulars, I'll build them and keep them on display for about 6 months, and then I pull them apart and I use those parts to build other things. So if you've got a build that you're like, I'm ready to take that one apart and I'll use the parts for things, before you put it all away, say, I'm going to challenge myself to make a bed or a lounge suite or a house out of just the pieces that are in that mock, they're in that build and that set, because then it forces you to look at elements and choose, rather than sit there and go, I don't know where to start. It actually forces you into choosing elements that will be just coming from what's sitting in front of you. And even with those classic bricks boxes, that's a real challenge, because they are very, but you know, like when we did the audition for Lego Masters, I did a 3-hour build challenge. So, and it was one-on-one with the executive producer. So they sent us, good night, Claire. Thank you so much for staying. We're nearly wrapping up, my lovely. Because I was quite late in the piece because of COVID, we had a Zoom audition. So I had 3 hours one-on-one with the executive producer, and they sent me a suitcase of Lego. It had 10,000 bricks, but they were all the kind of bricks, almost all, that you would find in that classic bricks box. They weren't what I was used to. I was used to building with all little detail, and it wasn't like that at all. But it forced me to go, okay, out of just what I've got in front of me, and I had to build a character and put that character into a story. And it was so challenging because of the limitation of the bricks, but it's a good thing to force yourself, even get a small set and pull that set apart, even like a 300, 400 pieces, pull it apart and go, out of just that 300 pieces, make yourself a piece of furniture or make yourself a toilet.
Right. No, and I agree. Like, bye, Bartek. Thank you so much for coming in.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. And in fact, that's something that I'd like to incorporate with the bazaar that I have coming up, is the Rebrick challenge, like taking sets that you have and seeing how creative you can get with, you know, obviously you have the 3-in-1 sets, the creator of 3-in-1 sets. But doing that with the sets that aren't designed to do that, or even taking the 3-in-1 sets and creating something completely different out of that. I think that's such a challenge right there, and for you to be able to display that right there with the bed is proof positive of that, because you didn't even have enough elements per se from the medieval blacksmith to make the full and headway to make the full bed that you wanted to necessarily make, because it didn't have all the elements. It just proves how creative you have to get.
100%, and I will be doing it again next week, because I have one more week until I get my Lego room set up. So I'm going to choose a different set next week and build some other furniture and build some architectural details. I might again look at different techniques for windows and doors from pieces and sets to see how we go. And and if anyone has questions along the way that they think of before next week, please fire them through. I hope that's been useful today. And
it's been more than useful. And if anyone has any questions as we're coming to a close here, please feel free to throw them our way here. I know it has, like I said, when you started out with saying, you know, start with, hi Max, by the way, welcome in, sir, from Azerbaijan. And when you say start with the windows and the doors, you know, that for me was huge. And, you know, working from the middle out, those were like really very poignant aspects to start with, because like I said, and I said this earlier, it can be extremely daunting for you to look at a castle and say, I want to build that castle.
Yeah.
But if you say, hey, I want to build
Building Brothers.
Oh yeah. Oh, she's so great. They're so great. And you're so great. But if you say, hey, I want to build that drawbridge first, or the opening first, you start there. Then you can go and design whatever kind of castle you want from there. You know.
That's so true. Like build a drawbridge or build one turret. 100%. Yeah, I think everyone's natural instinct is to just start laying bricks.
Right.
But then they're like, okay, but what am I going to put in? So when I start with the door and window, I always think about the snot that I'm going to use, because where I'm going to build out. And if you have that standalone element, everything else will come from it. It will, I promise you. If you're starting, if you're starting with just walls, it's not going to flow as naturally. You're not going to have a vision for it. So
well, and it'll deter you, and it'll hit your confidence pretty hard too, because
100%.
you'll start doubting yourself as a creator, as a builder, as a Lego technician or what have you. You'll start to doubt yourself because you've put together in front of you. Especially if you're just starting out with mocking, you put together a pretty large task in front of yourself. Start with the smaller guy. Start with the windows. Starts with the doors. Then it's like I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, if it was in my head, but I worked in film. A lot of writers, they start with the end of they have the conclusion of the story first, and then they fill in all the details there. So it's very similar to that, kind of in a reverse in a sense. So
it's such a crossover. I've written plays and musicals, and when I write a musical, I'll start with like the three key songs, the key messages that I want to get across to the audience. It's the same thing with a Lego build. If you think of it as art, is what is the key thing that I want them to hold on to? And I'll tell you, I've done lots and lots of doors and windows that have never ended up on a building. All I've wanted to do is just build the element, just to get technique, just to play with it. Not in for an end result. I think we always put pressure on ourselves to go to a full scale mock and an end result, but just sitting down and playing with elements in different ways and coming up with different techniques and different ways of using them. Sometimes that's all you need. Like just do, one
out that
bed
creative
doesn't
muscle.
have to go into a whole room. Obviously, I build a bed and then I can picture in my head what kind of room this would go in. For me, it would go in sort of a castle sort of thing, but I won't necessarily build that castle. Don't have to. Don't have to.
And a lot of it is a matter of accomplishment too. Challenging yourself. Can I build that bed? Can I build this door frame?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to sit here and say, can I build that castle? Can I build, this gigantic layer? You're gonna cut yourself off before you even start. So
100%. And the theater build started with the piano.
Yeah, that which took you 4 hours, you said, right?
4 hours.
Yeah.
4 hours.
So,
then 50 hours to do it, and then I did a small scale. I think you put it up on your post once. I did a small scale of just the stage with the sort of architecture I wanted to go with, knowing that I was going to do this huge, big project. But it was daunting to think about the big project. But once I'd done the small scale, I was like, I know where I'm going with this now. And then I could start do it on bigger scale, and the rest of it just came. It just came, but it was all little elements. It was like, this week I'm going to do just the toilet block of that. This week I'm going to do just the coat check. The coat check on it took me hours to get right, but
you can see your progress as you post. You can see your progress too as you go. It's great.
Yeah, so it's so much about it's important to have the bigger picture, but sometimes the bigger picture starts from the small, from the details. So yeah. I've really enjoyed this today, John.
Me too. I've learned a lot. I keep saying this, that I started these episodes, these series here, so that I could learn. It's more like this, so that because I was messaging people like, I'm curious about this, I'm curious about this, and I find out that more and more people are the same, and I'm sure that I am not the only one that gleaned a fair amount of information from this episode. So truly, truly appreciate it.
Oh, so welcome. Thank you so much. I look forward to doing it again next week. I'm so honored that you've asked me. It's really lovely. I feel like I probably speak to people who are quite new to MOCs, because I've been on that journey for the last couple of years, and I think it's really important to communicate with those people and to make you all feel welcome and safe in what you're doing, and that we don't all have to be the most expert, technical, clever, experienced builders. We just have to do what we love. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Fleur.
All right.
I'm so excited. All right, we'll see you next week.
Have a great day. I'm going to go to sleep.
All right, yes, get some rest. Get settled in.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks again.
Bye.
Bye-bye now. All right, everyone. We made it through another episode. That was Fleur Watkins down there in Australia. Thank you so much, Fleur. Wow, it's always so great to chat with her. What an amazing woman. She does amazing work with Lego, but she's also such a charm to chat with them. It's such a pleasure. So thank you so much. Yes, we are chugging right along. We have one more episode today of Don't Sweat the Lego Technique. Yep, we're making up for Tuesday. We got Billy today at 4 p.m. That's 4 p.m. my time, 7 p.m. Eastern. So 4 p.m. Pacific. Yes. So I don't know where that. David, I'm not sure how to translate that to Australia. 18 hours-ish. So if you guys can do that math for me, that'd be great. But we're going to be going over, check this out. Oh, he sent me a care package. Look at this. It's got all these goodies in it. See these guns, this right here, all these tools. You got razor blades. Look at this. I got all these paints. We're going to customize. We're going to customize Lego. It's going to be my first time ever customizing. We're going to be doing that today at 4 o'clock, approximately 11 hours from now. I'm nervous. I've never done it. I've never taken a blade to Lego before. So we'll see. I'm excited. I'm very excited to see how it goes. I know there are a few people out there just gonna tune in to see how much I wiggle in my seat at my first cut. So yeah, it'll be interesting. So that's happening today at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and then tomorrow we close out week 2 of series 2 of Don't Sweat the Lego Technique with Alex. We're going to go over more of the Home Alone house. Let's see if I can pull it up now. See if my shoulder will work with me right now. We're going to go over more of this guy. Yeah. Alex is going to walk us through how true the design team went from his design to what we have here. I think we're going to go, I don't know, floor by floor. How about that? We'll go floor by floor. And we'll check in with Alex to see what the process was like. We'll see how much input he had, how much they gave to him, so on and so forth. It's going to be pretty interesting stuff. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in to Don't Sweat the Lego Technique. This has been great. I'm really stoked. We are almost halfway through Series 2. Series 3, for those of you who are curious, is totally booked. All of the information is out there. Series 4 is almost completely booked. I just added tricky bricks. For those of you that are familiar with Lego Masters America, Flynn and Richard are going to be walking us through scene building with Friends, the Friends theme. Yes, it's a little bit of a blind spot for me, the Friends theme. I have some over here with my wife's stuff, and I've purchased some for the kids, and I'd like to we're doing scene building for Series 4, so I've got Lewis of Nutwood. He's going to be doing like the medieval stuff, and then I've got Tom down in what is it, Brick Shelf? Yeah, down in Australia as well. He's going to be doing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles superhero theme stuff. And then we've got Milo Bricks, who's going to be doing war, and then we've got Tricky Bricks is going to be doing Friends theme. We got more to announce too, so it's going to be really, really fun. We're going to be totally. Alex is great. He's so much fun. Stream time will not cross that. Oh yeah, hopefully not next. If not, you can always pick up the repost. I always repost. It's 11:30 tomorrow, by the way. So that's 11:30 my time Pacific, 2:30 Eastern. So you make I'm not sure what time that is in Azerbaijan. So you figure that out for me. Baku, is that where you're at? Is that how you pronounce that? Anyways, so yeah, we're gonna be doing that tomorrow, 11:30, 2:30. That's Alex. Boom. But today, 4 p.m. Just 11 hours, well, even less than 11 hours, 10 hours, 45 minutes. We're going to cut up some Lego. So until then, thank you for tuning in, and don't sweat that Lego technique. Okay? Thanks. Bye-bye.